In the quiet village of Novaya Zemlya, nestled along the seashores of the Barents Sea, lived an old man named Ivan Petrovich. The wind whispered through the pines, carrying the faint scent of salt and snow. Ivan's home was a simple wooden cabin. It is always etched with the marks of time, much like the lines on his white face. Each morning, he would rise with the pale dawn, brew a pot of strong black tea, and sit by the window, gazing out at the vast, frozen horizon. Life here was slow, deliberate, like the steady drip of melting icicles in spring. Ivan had spent his youth in the shadow of the Great Soviet Union, a time when borders blurred and nations were bound by the red banner of communism. He remembered the factories humming with purpose, the collective farmers where neighbors shared bread and stories under the watchful eye of the party. But those days had faded like old photographs, leaving behind a world reshaped by independence and uncertainty. Now, in his twilight years, Ivan found solace in his garden, tending to hardy potatoes and carrots that pushed through the stubborn soil. It was a small life, but it grounded him, reminding him of the earth's quiet endurance. One crisp autumn day, as leaves turned golden and fell softly to the ground, Ivan received a letter from his granddaughter, Elena. She lived in Kiev, in what was once a sister republic, now a neighboring country called Ukraine. The letter arrived in a plain envelope, stamped with foreign marks that made Ivan pause. Elena wrote of her life tour, studying history at the university, walking along the Dnieper River, and dreaming of a future unbound by the past. But her words carried a subtle edge. "Grandpa," she penned, "the world feels divided. People here speak of freedom, but I miss the stories of unity you told Emma as a child. Why does the distance between us feel so heavy?" Ivan set the letter down, his hands trembling slightly. This was his relatable problem, the pull of family across invisible lines. The near abroad, as the politicians in Moscow called it, was more than a phrase, it was the echo of a shared history, the former Soviet lands that Russia still watched over like a protective elder. Ivan had seen it unfold in the news, the tensions simmering like a pot left too long on the stove. Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, these places were not distant strangers but kin, tied by language, culture, and the gusts of communism. Yet, independence had brought walls, both literal and unseen, and Ivan worried that Elena might drift further away, caught in the currents of change. He decided to write back, but words failed him at first. Instead, he took long walks along the shore, where the waves lapped gently against the pebbles. The sea was calm that season, mirroring his need for reflection. Pausing to catch his breath, Ivan thought of his own youth, joining the Komsomol, the youth league where ideals of brotherhood burned bright. Communism had promised a world without borders, where workers from Tallinn to Tashkent stood as one. But the fall of the Union in 1991 had shattered that dream, birthing new nations from the rubble. Russia, the heart of it all, coined the near abroad to describe these siblings, close enough to influence, yet sovereign in name. It was a concept born of history, a way to safeguard interests, culture, and security in a fragmented landscape. As days turned to weeks, Ivan's problem deepened. News from the radio spoke of dispute, pipelines crossing borders, languages clashing, old alliances fraying. Elena's next letter arrived, her tone more urgent. "Grandpa, there are protests here. Some say Russia meddles too much, calling us the near abroad like we're still tears. But I remember your tales of shared victories in the Great War. Am I wrong to feel torn?" Ivan felt a pang in his chest, like the first crack in winter ice. He loved his country, its vastness and resilience, but he also cherished Elena's spirit, her right to forge her own path. Then comes a gentle twist. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges, Ivan discovered an old box in his attic. Dust motes danced in the fading light as he opened it. Inside were faded letters from his own grandfather, written during the Bolshevik Revolution. They spoke of upheaval, of Tsar's falling and a new order rising, one that united disparate peoples under communism's banner. But amid the ideology, there were personal pleas: hold fast to family, for empires rise and fall, but blood endures. Ivan realized the near abroad wasn't just Russia's policy, it was a human story, repeated through generations. It reflected the fear of losses, the desire to protect what felt like home, even as the world evolved. Inspired, Ivan sat by his lamp that night, pen in hand. He wrote to Elena not of politics, but of huts. My dear granddaughter, he began, the near abroad is Russia's way of remembering our shared roots, the factories we built together, the songs we sang in the same tongue. It is born from communism's legacy, where borders were lines on maps, not in souls. But remember, true unity comes from choice, not claim. He shared stories of his travels to Kyiv in the 1970s, the warmth of Ukrainian hospitality, the way the sunflowers bowed in the fields like old friends. Weeks later, Elena replied with joy. She had visited a museum on Soviet history, seeing the near abroad not as chains, but as threads in a tapestry. You've helped MC, Grandpa. It is not about ownership, but connection. Ivan smiled, folding the letter carefully. The wind outside had stilled, leaving a profound quiet. In the end, Ivan found peace in his garden once more. The potatoes had grown strong, roots deep in the earth. He understood that history, like seasons, cycled onward, communism's ideals fading, but the human need for closeness is remaining. Elena promised a visit soon, bridging the distance with her steeds. As snow began to fall softly, blanketing the village in white, Ivan sipped his tea, content. The near abroad was vast, but family made it near indeed. And in that simple truth, the world felt a little less divided.